Hello, it's Caroline and I hope you're having an awesome day. I wanted to share some tips today on some practical steps that you can take to protect and boost your mental health and your happiness during this coronavirus period. So no doubt, you've been watching the news, you've been seeing a lot of emails come through, and it's quite easy to kind of get sucked into like a vortex of worry and negativity and, panic, like we've seen all the panic buying happening. So I want to show you what you can do individually to really shield yourself from a lot of that and to be in a state where, despite what's going on around you, you can still feel like you're in control of your own energy and your positivity. Of course you can do, there's the sensible things which no doubt you've already heard. So, around like washing your hands, using hand sanitizer, not touching your face. An extra one that a friend shared with me, which actually I think could be quite useful, is if you're out and about like on public transport and trying to sort of keep your hands sanitized, you can also use gloves like between trips, which will help, I guess, minimize the spread of infection. I think the other thing that's really important to remember on the health side of things is that really what we're doing here, like the drastic measures that are in place, it's ultimately to stop the spread of coronavirus. So even though most of us would be fine even if we got it, what we're doing is trying to stop the spread to protect people who are more vulnerable and who have compromised immune systems. So, it's really about like caring for other people within society, and a lot of this is just preventative measures. So I know though that, there's so much news coming out and so many things that people are starting to panic about. And so what I wanted to share today is give you 3 tips that I think can really help for you to shield yourself from a lot of that. And so the 3 tips are, and I'm going to explain each of them in detail. So the first one is to manage and neutralize your own negativity. Tip 2 is to learn to play the role of the observer in what's happening around you. And step 3 is to infuse gratitude into your life and into the lives of others. And I'll explain each of those now. So the first one is around managing and neutralizing your own negativity. So this really starts with awareness. So if you are feeling like it's all getting to you, you're starting to feel down, particularly if maybe you're in a place that's under lockdown and you're having to stay indoors, you've lost that connection with people that you used to see every day. One tip that I want to share with you, and I'm not going to go into the science of how this all works in this video, but one of the tips, if you've seen any of my videos before, one of the tools that I use is called tapping, or EFT, which stands for the Emotional Freedom Technique. And, a quick way that you can just like sort of do tapping on the spot is to just find your collarbone point, which sits like just sort of under your collarbone, like about, a couple of centimeters down. And if you just tap on that, you start to feel like a bit of you feel a physical sensation from doing it. And what you're doing when you're tapping on this point is you're actually accessing what's called a meridian point or an acupressure point. And it's almost like a shortcut to sort of getting to the emotions that are running, like wild through your body, like that are running through your nervous system. And so if you are feeling negative, what you can start to do is to express some of those statements. So if you're not sure what they are, just ask yourself, just say, why am I feeling so negative? What is getting to me? And, and do this while you're tapping, and you might find it's things like, oh, I'm, really worried about all the panic buying. What if we run out of supplies? I'm worried about, my job, what's going to happen? What if my income runs out? What about my mortgage? I'm worried about being cooped up in the house for ages. So whatever it is, just, almost vent, like ask yourself, what's wrong? What's got me negative? And you're going to find this really soothing. So what you're going to do by tapping on this point is actually neutralize a lot of that negative energy that's running around, in your head through your nervous system. And by doing this, sometimes people will ask me, but, shouldn't I be avoiding the negative? Isn't it dangerous? Aren't I going to get sucked more into the negative? And actually you're not. The effect of tapping is going to neutralize the emotions around that. It's not going to magnify the problem. So it's a really safe way to address the negative. And actually you'll find it gives you peace of mind because you're acknowledging what's actually going on. Rather than pretending it's not there but feeling negative, this is a very safe way to acknowledge those emotions. And so what I want you to do is keep, saying that stuff, and you don't even have to keep speaking. Like once you've gotten it out, just keep tapping on it until you feel that energy soothe. And a way you can measure it actually is, while you're doing it, is to say, okay, if I rated myself out of 10 in terms of how negative I feel, like 10 being the most negative, you want to keep tapping till you get that score right down to like a 1 and ideally a 0. Okay, just so that you feel better, like you haven't solved all the problems of the world, but you just want to neutralize that negativity. Because once you neutralize, then you're ready to take the second step, which is all about learning to play the role of the observer. So what I mean by this is there could be loads of negativity, circulating around you. You can choose to not buy into it. And to first do that, that's why I showed you the tapping. I think you have to detach from your own negativity first. And when you can detach from your own negativity and understand it better, then you can play that same role of the observer to what else is around you that's negative. And so you can say things like, you might see a really negative or panicked news report, and you can just start to say, okay, that's interesting. Okay, there are multiple perspectives on that. I wonder why they chose to present that one. Oh, maybe they could have presented that a bit differently. Okay, I can see why they did that. I understand that negative news sells and it gets people's attention. But actually, if I listen to the whole report, most of it wasn't negative. It's just the way they created drama around how they introduced it. And it's sort of like it's this pendulum, right? Like, so this whole coronavirus thing, it's just so charged with energy at the moment and going both ways as well. So it doesn't matter whether you buy into the panic or whether you're super against the panic and you're like, we need to stop this craziness. Both of those types of energy are just charging this pendulum. And so what you want to do is to recognize that that's what's happening and you want to hop off it and become an observer. And say, okay, well, that's interesting. I can see what's happening, but I'm not going to buy into it. I'm going to form my own views here. I'm just going to choose not to be, negative and not to get sucked in by this thing. And then once you can do that, then you can take the third step, which is all around infusing gratitude into your life. And again, gratitude is something that you can just start anyway, but it's going to work better if you deal with any negativity that is sitting there beforehand, because you want to do this from like a neutral place, a neutral baseline. And so the most simple way to use gratitude, the way that I teach it to my clients, is just start a gratitude journal, whether that's a book that you have that you want to write in, whether it's the notes in your phone, whether it's sending yourself an email every day or starting a document that you can type into. And it's as easy as once a day, ideally twice a day. So first thing in the morning, last thing before you go to bed, write down 5 things that you're grateful for. Okay, and if you feel like you can't be grateful for anything, then definitely if you've done the first 2 steps, you'll find this easy. But if you haven't and you're jumping straight to this, I'll challenge you on that and say that you absolutely can. Okay, even if it's as simple as it rained today and the roof over my head protected me from rain. I had food to eat today. I didn't run out of money today. There are things you can be grateful for, okay? There are things that, you're lucky you have in your life right now. And when you start to do that, what you're going to find is that you literally embody like the feelings of gratitude all throughout your day. So you start to infuse it not only into your life, but into the lives of others. And then you'll be able to also feel grateful for the stuff that, interestingly, probably caused you to feel negative originally. So some examples would be, okay, you see the news and you're like, okay, that was a bit dramatic as the observer. But actually, I'm really grateful that I have access to news. I'm really grateful that the leader of our country gets on the news every day and says something and lets us know whether or not we are closing down schools, whether we are in lockdown. I'm grateful that I have access to that knowledge. And if you're, getting a flood of emails and actually even people are starting to write as their subject lines, not another coronavirus email, well, you can stamp out that negativity too and say, okay, this is another coronavirus email, but actually I'm really grateful that all the people who I deal with, like the people I've bought things from before, the stores I purchased from, I'm really grateful that they're letting me know what they're doing. Like some of the companies, if you take the time to read these emails, like TripIt comes to mind. So that's like a travel app that I use. And TripIt emailed everyone and said, hey, you know what, given all the uncertainty around travel at the moment. We're upgrading everybody to our Pro version for free for at least the next 6 months, just so that we can get you guys alerts if you are like in transit. And I was like, what a bloody awesome thing to do. Like that is, that's an example of a company really stepping up. And so I'm really grateful they sent me that email, because I just got a free upgrade to, even though I'm not traveling, I will travel again at some point. And so I'm very grateful for that. You can be grateful that you have access and awareness of what's happening around the world. Even though we might not always know if the facts are entirely accurate, at least you're getting something, because there are people living in other countries who are probably in the dark about what's even happening with coronavirus and what it is they could be doing to protect themselves. You can be grateful for technology. So the fact that you can stay in touch with people. So, a negative view could have been that, oh my gosh, people are getting so negative on Facebook. But, be grateful that you've still got the connection to others. Be grateful that, for a lot of us, we can still run our businesses because we're online and we've got access to things like conference calls and email, and, things can still go on even if you have to sort of cut out the live connection component. Okay, the panic buying. We can still be grateful that actually the shops have really taken this on board and they're restocking daily. And that, if, you're willing to just buy what you need, you actually can get access to things. Like you might turn up and there might be no toilet paper, but you will get some, okay? You've just got to learn the restocking cycles of your particular store. On that note, one thing I'm super grateful for that doesn't affect me directly, but the major Australian supermarkets have introduced pensioner hour. So from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m, only pensioners are allowed to go to the store. And I'm like super grateful for that, because, the idea of like somebody who's, already maybe physically challenged, like getting stampeded by people trying to run for toilet paper, like it's sad and it's ridiculous. And so it makes me really happy to know that they can go, feel safe, and even if they can't find things on the shelves, some supermarkets have introduced these essentials packs that you can go to their customer service desk and collect, and that's just for pensioners. And I think that's such a beautiful thing to do. So even amidst all this negativity and craziness, there is plenty of stuff to be grateful for. You've just got to get into the habit of writing this stuff down and becoming aware of it and choosing to adopt that attitude of gratitude rather than negativity. And I've shown you the steps you can do to clear it if you have negativity that you need to deal with on your way to becoming grateful. And so I'm just going to throw in a fourth one, and this is for people who, like, if you're a business owner, if you're in a position of like leadership and, you've got people who you serve or who follow you, then, I want to throw in a fourth thing, which is I believe this is a time where we should all be stepping up, and you can ask yourself, how can I help? Okay, and if it's not immediately obvious, then ask yourself, who can I help? To give you some examples of things that, like I've done in my business, because we use a lot of technology and, it's second nature for us, we've reached out to some local businesses, like people that, we know personally who were maybe dragging their tail a bit to get their business online. We're helping businesses out with just very quick turnaround, simple e-commerce stores so that their customers can still buy from them, even if that's just through sort of no contact pickup or delivery. Because we still want to get products from businesses who are probably feeling right now like they might need to shut down, especially if we go into lockdown mode. Operating online is a way that they don't have to do that. So, we've started helping some local businesses out with that, and also community groups. So I know people who run, for example, church groups or, other community things where people get together like once a week or once a fortnight, and a lot of that has literally stopped overnight. And so again, we've reached out to people and said, hey, we can help you still run your community groups, but you can do it online. So we're showing people how to use tools like Zoom, how to utilize, their emails better, how to still stay connected with their communities, but in an online way rather than face-to-face. So that's something I've recognized that I can do, that I've been trying to help people with, as many people as possible. But if you're in the same position, then I really encourage you to reach out and see who you can help and work out how you can leverage your skills and the strengths of, your business or your talents to maybe help people out who are feeling a bit isolated and a bit stuck right now. And so I'll wrap this up now. But yeah, look, in summary, just the 3 points that I raised. So I really want you to focus on managing and neutralizing the negativity. Point 2 was being able to play the role of the observer and choosing not to get caught up on the pendulum of negativity. And then the third one is adopting that attitude of gratitude and embracing it and really making it part of your daily routine. And if you can do that, that is going to supercharge like your mental health, your happiness, and you're going to realize that you actually are okay, even through this period of uncertainty. And so, look, I'll wrap this up by just saying if there's anything that you do need help with that I've talked about today, whether it's technology, tapping, gratitude. I haven't really touched on money today, but that's another area I'm going to start to deal with specifically. And music as well. So even though some of our band gigs have been understandably cancelled, we can still get together and, do online songs or something like that. So whatever it is you feel you need that might help you, if there's any ways that I can help you, please post below, let me know, and I'll see what I can do in the form of, training, extra help, just stuff that I can do to get out. I don't know if it'll be every day, but yeah, if you need stuff, you want stuff, let me know, and I'll start to gear my videos around that for the next little while. And also, if you know anybody who could benefit from protecting their mental health or their happiness from everything that's happening, then please go ahead and share this video and invite them to let me know what help they need as well. And that's it, I think. So I hope you found that helpful. I'm Caroline Labor, and I hope you have an awesome day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked today's video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and leave any questions, comments or video ideas in the comments below. And most importantly, hit that subscribe button and that bell notification. Also, if you're interested in my free money mindset training, click on the link in the first comment below and it'll take you to a page where you can enter your name and email so I can send it straight to you. See you next time.